Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another Z2R Max Rando Tournament race. We have traiLZ versus jkoper in Swiss Round 3. And on commentary, we have Mirai and Elendar. Take it from you two.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mirai, and I'm joined by Elendar here in the booth with me tonight. How are we doing, Elendar?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm excited. These are two very expert, very veteran runners, and they should make quick work of whatever nonsense Max Rando throws at them.
Yeah, let's hope so. This is we're at a 2-0 match. Both of these runners undefeated. One of them going to be taking their first loss here in round 3 of the Swiss rounds of Max Rando that we've got here for the 2022 tournament. Big smile on my face. This one's going to be an exciting match for sure. Both of these great runners, and they never cease to put on a show.
Yeah, traiLZ, the player who probably plays more Z2R than anyone else on the planet. And jkoper, meanwhile, plays somehow like 18 different randomizers, all to expert level.
We always bring this up, but it's absolutely true that jkoper has his hand in everything and does it all extremely well. traiLZ also branching out here recently, going to Z1R himself and learning that I guess Z2R is not enough for him these days. He's already mastered. He needs to master the next thing.
Yeah, and here we are. We're off with a 5-gemmer glove boots hammer to start. Only 2 lives, but 6 heart containers.
That's a very healthy start for sure.
Yeah, just, death is always a concern, and 6 heart containers can help you a lot, but a quick dip into the lava can erase all of that.
Yes. We've had this discussion in the past races as well, where low lives, not having the magic key, having to rely on fairy. If fairy stays expensive, then death abuses could be a real challenge to have to juggle, because with only 2 lives, you lose that first life and you're automatically on your last life at that point. So we'll see how soon they dig into palaces, or if they want to try to find maybe some keys in the drop pool. We'll have to wait and see. Haven't seen anything killed just yet, so we'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, bit of an early divergence. Both our runners seeing the spell here in Saria, but traiLZ deciding it's just 1 item. I don't really feel like it. And jkoper taking the time to go pick it up.
Yeah, jkoper had that. It's right. We had kind of talked about this in one of my previous races that he did commentary for, where it's kind of right there in the beginning. You might need it later, and you might as well just pick it up now. It's kind of a gamble not to take it. So I think that's where he stands on that.
Yeah, traiLZ finds a key, but it's not the one he's looking for. Just a small key here in Heart Container Cave.
Yeah, nothing magic about that one. We're only going to get 1 door use out of that one.
Still, again, with limited uses of fairy, you take what you can get.
Absolutely.
Well, obviously, with 5 crystals, you're going to have to find some kind of a long-term solution, because fairy, right off the bat, 117.
Not quite castable as per that magic cost, but I'm sure it's going to come down. It will come down. We'll just see what it have to kind of settles at, though. It tends to settle right around like Magic 4, Magic 5. We'll see if it stays in something like the high 40s, low 50s. We've seen that before. Or maybe it'll just drop to 22 at Magic 3, and they'll be just, free seed.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. And speaking of concerns, not a lot of progression from either side here. Both our runners picking up Candle. But the only path they really have, there's the raft, which is obviously not accessible yet. They could make their way into the caldera, but it looked like there was a rock block. It may be that our runners are immediately forced into that palace for logic.
They do start with the hammer here, though.
Oh, they have the hammer, excuse me. Okay, so the caldera, perfectly reasonable. Head over to the west end of the west. traiLZ is doing that now, and I wouldn't be surprised if that Abe means jkoper is doing the same.
Yeah, they seem to each be cleaning out the east side of the west here in different orders, but they're done with this now, and jkoper is going to join traiLZ into the caldera. I believe that was GP we saw there sitting right near start, so nothing more than a simple Parappa cave away. Once they place that 5th gem up in A, and they'll be in GP very quickly at that point.
Other side, unfortunately, is Jump Cave, which can be a bit spicy on these low levels. This low ceilings, if you get red Dairas in it, can just be absolutely painful.
Yeah, this candle is really nice at this. It's a little less valuable with the 6 heart starting containers, but If you had less heart containers, it would be much more valuable. But speaking of red Dyras.
We're going to see our first magic level on traiLZ's side. And I didn't quite catch Fairy. It might have 67, not quite castable.
Yeah, at least we don't have any heavy grinding required right now in the beginning. Like, they at least can get through the Caldera. We've had a few seeds. There was one recently in a seed of the week that we ran where we had to grind to, I think it was like Magic 5 before we could get Fairy cast to get out of the starting area there.
Yeah, traiLZ taking Magic 3 before Attack 2, not paying it off, still can't cast Fairy.
Yeah, that's a strategy, though, I think. I think we'll see jkoper follow suit there. He also probably wants to get these Fairy casts down. There's no guarantee you're going to find that magic key, and we've only seen that one kind of junk item as a key at this point. We haven't seen any keys in the drop pool. So Fairy may be the absolute way into palaces at this point. And for all we know, the magic key could be simply sitting in a palace, and we wouldn't know that until we step in there and find it.
Well, we do know now that magic key is in the east, so not going to be helpful to them immediately.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's might be bait. That might be bait, though, if they head out there early. Who knows? It's a tough call whether they want to stick around and bring Fairy down to a castable cost and just start jumping in palaces ASAP, or if the east is actually something like Spell Tower, or in the woman's basement locked behind something like 6 or 7 magic containers. That could easily be bait at that point.
Our last palace is 4, so definitely not the greatest option in the world. We've seen a lot of our spells here and no sign of Reflect. We do know that the last spell in the west is Shield spell, so that means that Reflect has got to be in one of the Kasutos or Naburu, I think, are the remaining towns that are open.
Okay, so should be free regardless if they need it, if they want to do 4.
Oh yeah, it's in fact it's just one of the Kasutos. Naburu is where Fairy spell is, if I'm counting correctly.
Yeah, I'm finding myself not looking at the screen who of the player who has it open at that time.
Yeah.
And by the time you dart your eyes back in that direction, it's already closed.
jkoper does pick up Attack 2 before Magic 3, but with that P-Bag, just a couple seconds. Decides to take Life 2. I would be surprised if that Life 2 was, at the very least, just okay, stop bugging me about this.
Yeah, this Attack 2, I'm sorry, traiLZ is still on Attack 1, and it's looking pretty rough here. A lot of hits on this blue Moblin, a lot of hits on this red Guria here. He's making it through. The shield spell is obviously very useful. He took a life level, buffed him back up to full health, so that was very nice there, making it through the first screen of Medicine Cave. But yeah, this Attack 1 is, he's definitely going to want to upgrade this ASAP. Because even if you can get into palaces, they might still be pretty rough. They do have access to downstab at this point. They did get the jump spell, and so as soon as they find Mito, they can go get downstab if they want it. I'm sure they do want that though.
Yeah, Medicine Cave here with a magic, magic container, not a jar, which is going to be great for traiLZ because that does put all of the palaces into logic for him, but still a bit scary with only 1 cast and only 2 lives.
I'm a little confused. Did he not clear the Medicine Cave out on his way in, and now he's seeing a Dyra and a Guria back again on the way out?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought he killed everything in there, but...
Yeah, we can see that on jkoper's side. He's battling against the Guria and the Dyra there. Not sure why they've respawned. I don't know. Could be some freak accident, some bug, whatever happens.
Yeah, Z2 has all kinds of weird logic when it comes to spawning rooms sometimes, but I think my favorite bit of weird logic in room spawning is the 2 identical looking rooms on the west. One of them is the hard container cave, and one of them is one of the 3 sections of I think it's jump cave. But the two caves...
It's Fairy Cave.
Fairy Cave, yeah. Those actually share a spawn pool. And I think the randomizer might have fixed that. I don't actually remember, but I know at least in vanilla, clearing one of them actually clears the other one because they're programmed with the wrong room IDs.
No, you can find that the same way. If you hit Fairy Cave, you can despawn what is in Parappa. Wait, how does that work? You can despawn what's in Heart Container Cave, and then it can confuse you to think that you've already been in here, or it's not the cave you want to be in. It's not Heart Container Cave, and you can walk out. So it is worth checking to make sure if you've already entered Fairy Cave in the past that you didn't accidentally despawn these enemies in Heart Container Cave. So that is something to watch out for. It's happened to myself, and traiLZ has brought that up in the past as well.
Yep. Both container runners, more or less neck and neck, covering the stuff each other have covered in the past. P-Bag Cave, I think this is coming down to I haven't been keeping track. I don't know if we've seen the grass tile. Second magic container. Not immediately that useful, because it's not going to change the number of cast of fairies they have, but probably likely to give them a second cast if they can pick up another level or two.
Yeah, that grass tile is still at large, I think. I don't believe we've seen that, and well, there it is.
Yeah, of course.
I was going to say potentially raft sitting here. I don't know if we have another way off this continent. Have we seen? Oh, that's a big value item right there. Are we going to see a magic 4? We do see a magic 4.
traiLZ just going with a life 5 to play it safe.
Still 67 at magic 4, so still just one cast, even at 96 magic there. Oh,
here's the east, and these islands will be rendered largely inert because they are all very walkable.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at before we saw the 1,000-point P-Bag. If the raft is going to be our only connection, I had missed that Maze Island connection bridge, which takes us to the east here. So who knows where the Maze Island, or who knows where the raft goes at this point in time. Could go to Maze Island, but then again, there could be a cave that connects us to Maze Island as well. Could have multiple connections to that point. And, well, I guess we'll find out here as we comb over the east.
Yeah, who knows if Maze Island even required. I think our runners would probably prefer not to do Palace 4 if they have to, but traiLZ has found a 3 or 6, and he's going.
Yeah, it's probably time. You got to think, at this point, you're up against, again, jkoper, another undefeated player at this stage of the Swiss rounds, and so there's really no time to screw around. You know that jkoper is going to be right close by, really, no matter what you're doing, or traiLZ is going to be right behind jkoper. That's what he feels about this. Both of these opponents are familiar with each other and the way that they play. They're both veterans. They've been playing for years. And it's get in and get those 5 gems placed and then get yourself in GP ASAP.
Yeah, traiLZ finding 1-ups in the small enemy pool here in 3. So even if there is a particularly trolly GP, there is at least a way out. You could farm up some levels.
Yeah, that is huge, actually.
And speaking of huge, here's the boss.
jkoper picking up the spell in Nukasudo here.
Yeah, it's I believe it was fire is what he picked up. I didn't quite catch, but just a small key.
Yeah, traiLZ can afford a life caster. He still has that key in reserve, so if the boss isn't dropping a key, he doesn't have to rely on Fairy to get through this door. I mean, even if he did, he still has the extra life in 2 lives in reserve, so he could just go back and take a death.
Yeah. But he's going to take this magic level, and we will not get to see. I believe if it's a dark-colored container, it's always red, but I'm not 100% sure how the palette works.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that either, but it did seem red this time. Is that correct?
Yeah. And if it is a red jar, that's going to be huge for our runners. They don't have to worry about making sure they die before they take on the bosses to get a cast of fairy on the way out. And traiLZ found another palace, going into another palace.
Oh, well, I don't... in the maze lies something for jkoper there on the hint side. I was going to say jkoper just saw this P1, but decided not to go in it. He did decide to check this town first.
Yeah, at the very least, going to pick up upstab.
Interesting. Did we see Mito on the east side of the west? Is that why neither one of our runners has gone back to pick up downstab at this point? Because it was going to be another trip to the Caldera? Okay.
Yeah, it was on the east side of the west. It was, I think, just a little bit southeast of North Palace.
So it's going to be an upstab for jkoper. We'll see if traiLZ picks up upstab as well. I don't think he's going to. I mean, anything's possible to make that decision to go in just for the safety, but knowing that it's Fairy Town, he doesn't need to go in there for the spell or anything like that. So I don't know. traiLZ is probably in, he's full throttle right now into his second palace. So we'll see if he makes that decision to jump into Darunia to get upstab. But knowing traiLZ, I would assume he's not going to.
Yeah, I don't think it's very likely.
Going to be finding the item here in P1.
Meanwhile, jkoper found the raft on the water tile. Useful? Maybe.
Yeah, pending.
If, we only need 5 palaces, so our runners could theoretically beat the seed without finding Maze Island, but nice knowledge by traiLZ picking up a jar drop there.
Yeah, and our item in P1 was also just a red jar, so nothing we need to worry about here.
Yeah, he had the path to the right just led to a dead end after a decent number of rims. So we're probably running out of rims here in Palace 1. Risen P-Bag for jkoper not paying off, and spell turning stuff into bats.
I think there was a test of fire. I think we're looking at fire spell.
That's unhelpful. Potentially useful for traiLZ if he does end up picking up fire, because he has not gotten the spell. But we'll see if he even bothers to pick up fire.
Yeah, he will be rewarded with a small key if he wishes to check the spell tower.
Yeah. But after a pretty much completely exhaustive search of Palace 1, traiLZ does find Horsehead, who goes down quickly, even with attack 3.
Yeah, so that's going to be traiLZ's second palace here, as jkoper had just seen what we know is Palace 3 there in the east, stepping in, grabbing the jar from the statue, and then stepping out. Still not jumping into a palace at this point. Doesn't have the flute to check Three-Eyed Rock, although we know that it's not going to be a block to a palace or a town that we'd need at this point. Simply that we've seen the 2 palaces outside of Death Valley, and we are always guaranteed to have a palace inside of Death Valley's volcano. So there's going to be our 3 palaces here on the east.
traiLZ finding out Nukasudo needs 7, but he is going to pick up his fire spell, and curious whether he will test. I think with that jump, he just did that jump cast there. That was part of the check to see. He hadn't used jump yet. He wanted to see if that was fire. Trying to run down the possibilities of what fire could be so that he can, check whether or not he needs to. That's not what he's going to like to see. He knows now that it's for sure not fairy as well. So it's either spell or thunder at this point, and he's going to take the blind guess that it is spell, and it will be correct.
I don't know if we saw traiLZ in the Sunken P-Bag Cave here, so I don't remember if we saw the item that was going to be rewarded on jkoper's side.
traiLZ with the swag beam pick up there in Spell Tower.
Yeah, Animus in chat bringing up that. I guess it could be a desert tile that sits underneath the Three-Eyed Rock there. That could be where our magic key is at, because that is true. We did get that hint, and we have yet to find it at this point. I think we've exhausted every location, it seems, at this point. We've seen Risen P-Bag Cave, Sunken P-Bag Cave, both the items. No, not both the items.
We've only seen, the second one.
Yeah, we haven't seen the basement.
Well, jkoper just picked up his 7th container, so if he's really looking for that magical key, he could take a quick stop back at Nukasudo and see.
Oh!
traiLZ thinking about upstab, he's doing it.
Doesn't want to get burned in GP, taking that gamble. You know what? I would take that gamble. traiLZ thinking he's going to need that upstab. We'll see.
traiLZ going for the super jump when he's got fairy, makes it the second try.
Swag points there for traiLZ. We're going to mark that down on the whiteboard.
It doesn't. I think if you don't hit it literally the first try, it doesn't save time over a fairy.
Elendar has a much stricter criteria for getting some swag points there, but
yeah, I think you have I think it's 4 attempts if they give you make it on the 4th attempt, it still saves time over going around the long way with jump spell.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. I've never tested it myself, though.
Yeah, I typically hit it about every 1 in 4 tries, I'd say so.
Yeah, there was a time where I got good streaks on getting it, and then lo and behold, I can never get it again.
jkoper does find the magical key in New Casino, so while he's a little behind on palaces, that is going to speed him up quite a bit.
Yeah, the one thing that could be is that maybe some of the remaining palaces have a lot of doors in them, and if we're not going to be seeing any keys in the drop pool, we haven't killed a lot of enemies at this point yet, so we don't know if we've really cycled through the full drop pool. But if we haven't, we're still looking for keys. If we have, then we know that there aren't any keys in it, and it's just simply 1-ups and maybe some P bags. And that magic key could help jkoper catch up, make up some ground here. Simply because if there's doors that are blocking the way, those fairy casts might still stay expensive for traiLZ, especially having not picked up that 7th magic container on his side.
Yeah, also, despite both our runners combing over the east pretty well here, we've got no sign of Old Kazuto.
Well, that could be, I guess that could be what's underneath the 3-eyed rock.
Yeah, we know by process, I mean, jkoper has all 7 other spells at this point. We know that's got to be Thunder.
Oh, nope.
Of course, jkoper immediately finding it.
Yeah, so it's either jumped... Oh, go ahead.
As I say, I don't think traiLZ going to be very far behind with how he's routing here.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was Reflect. They already had Thunder. It was the remaining spell.
We see a very brief vanilla shuffled Death Mountain there on traiLZ's side, and also the desert tile here soon to be on jkoper's side.
Yeah, thankfully, it doesn't look like it's going to be required, because at this point, the only place that if it's vanilla shuffled, it has to have another exit, which means that exit has to be our last exit that goes to Maze Island.
Yeah, unless there's some undiscovered cave on the east here.
Yep, and jkoper does find one of the caves. Well, I think it has to go according to vanilla rules, right? If it's vanilla shuffle, doesn't there have to be 2 entrances? So
yeah, it could. I mean, I don't know if we've explored every single cave on the east. It could just lead to some random cave in a corner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something has to lead to Maze Island at this point. They've already found. I guess they haven't taken the raft, so the raft could lead to Maze Island as well. But I think at this point, our runners, knowing what they know, they're just going to say, forget Maze Island. I'm just going to do the 5 palaces that I have knowledge and access to, and we'll figure out how to get to Maze Island next scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they do have access to those 5 palaces, and at this point, traiLZ has done 2 of those on the east. We know that GP is not in the Valley of Death, and I assume he's actually going to seek that out at this point, now that he's seemingly explored almost all of the east. He still hasn't found that 1 magic container, I think, in Sunken Peabag Cave, if I'm not mistaken, but he's probably going to jump into Death Valley here very soon, having the fairy cast, but he's going to have to take some encounter skips because unless he's got some lives in reserve, he can't simply try to fairy feet and then take deaths. Ooh, there. Speaking of taking deaths, that fairy is cheap at Magic 5 all of a sudden.
Yeah, it went from very expensive to 3 casts.
Well, this just got less interesting having the magic key on jkoper's side.
And I think by process of elimination, the palace on Maze Island at this point is either 6 or 5?
Oh yeah, it's either 5
and 6 are the 2 outstanding. So, I mean, I don't think you're going to be too sad about missing out on that one anyway. We're going to know pretty quickly here as traiLZ hits this palace. It is 5 here in Valley of Death, so 6 is going to be on Maze Island for our runners.
traiLZ also has potential to gain additional swag points at this point if his Guma kill is up to par, or above par. Or under par? No, it's above par unless we're actually playing golf.
Yeah. We'll see. It might be a bit.
Yeah, and especially with no downstep, that does kind of, you have to attack a little. You can't be as crazy. He's not going to be able to just go in on him as hard as he can, just get in the hitbox, and then just downstep like crazy. jkoper, having went back to the west at this point and starting over in Palace 2, having grabbed downstep on his side. So that is going to slow down the Guma kill a little bit on traiLZ's side, but I suspect that traiLZ will be able to handle this.
Yeah, worth noting that traiLZ did not get Reflect prior to coming in here. And so he's going to have to either walk his way out and get Reflect spell or take a trip back here because, I mean, unless he's counting on that raft leading to Maze Island, he's gonna have to either find Maze Island or the Reflect spell in order to clear out the seed. And it's just a little sad, you cleared everything else in the east. You really want to just up A out of here, but if he does, then he's going to be missing Reflect.
Yeah, at this point though, the raft tile, unless for some reason we saw it on the other side of it on the east somewhere, then it's more or less guaranteed to lead to Maze Island because the other cave could be there as well, but the raft tile obviously needs a connector somewhere. It's probably there we go.
Yeah,
and there's our cave as well.
Yeah, and jkoper, having not done Valley of Death, going to do this 6 instead of 5 probably, and then clear the rest of the palaces. Though he does still have to revisit. It's possible that even though he has Reflect, he just clears all 3 palaces in the east when he goes and revisits, and then just avoids having to cross the Caldera again for Palace 4.
Yeah.
Which is probably in aggregate a reasonable play, right? 4 is a little faster usually than 5 or 6, but also, you gotta do an extra trip.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, if I had easy access to Reflect like they did, I would definitely be doing 4 over seeking out 5 or 6. Oh, I mean, I guess 6 is fine. I don't mind 6 too much. It's just, I mean, once you find the dragon, for me, the Barba is pretty much a free kill. I just got to find him first, and then, that can be the tough part, I guess, or the annoying part. And again, with 2 lives, it might actually come down to burning them at some point in this Palace Stakes.
Yeah, but the 1-ups in the small enemy drop pool have got to be fairly common because both of our runners simultaneously showing 1 on screen.
Yeah, that's I would be very glad seeing that. The 2-life start is something like the only thing that could really shake me in a race, and I don't mean to show my hand here. Someone's going to be racing me in the future, be like, "Oh, 2-life start. That's really going to mess Mirai up." But I mean, I think it messes everyone up when they play because it's just you don't have a lot of opportunities to take those death abuses. You have to be extra careful, and so like one we see right here on traiLZ's side. But when you see the 1-ups in the drop pool, it's a relief to know that, especially in the small enemy drop pool, that if it really got that bad and you needed to just get a few extra lives for a buffer when you go into GP, which may be a little rough, that it's there. You have that available to you. It's an option. Whereas if they weren't in the drop pool, there wouldn't be that option, and you would just have to deal with that rough GP and suck it up and get good.
Yeah, I'm reminded of there was a Seed of the Week a few months back that I'm sure you'll also remember, right, where the 0 Jabber at GP was basically on the same screen as the start, and it was just so unbelievably brutal.
Yes.
But even runners like traiLZ were putting up over an hour just to clear that GP.
I actually ran a little side note, a little tangent. I actually ran a casual seed today, which was one of the most horrendous seeds I've ever run in the randomizer as of any time lately, knowing as much as I do and having as much experience as I do in the game now. It was a 1 heart container start. It was 1 heart container all the way through. And the first 3 or 4 rooms in GP were nothing but blue, red, and orange bird knights. And it was horrible, absolutely horrible. There was not another heart in the entire seed. I looked.
Yeah, jkoper having some difficulty making this jump, and I think he's already in the lava. It's very difficult to make that jump that way with life spell, or with jump spell. The blocks overhead sort of impede your progress. I've actually found it easier to make that jump without the jump spell and just do the sort of long gap jump.
Yeah, you got to kind of do like you can't be heavy on the jump button if you're going to use jump on that particular gap. You got to be kind of light. It's kind of got to be a medium-sized hop, bigger than your standard hop with the jump spell, of course, but not a full jump spell, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, traiLZ beating up on Guma here, getting just an absolute ton of hits in, but attack 4, it seemed okay, but it may be that attack 4 is not great, or it may just be that Guma is an absolute tank.
Oh, very close. Oh, he gets a cast of life there. Very cheap life spell.
Very effective, too. That looked like 4 bars.
And that is going to be traiLZ's third palace. Oh, he does have enough to cast Fairy, though, after that red jar pickup.
Yeah. It's sort of the story of a lot of things in this seed. Like, they look very difficult, but the drop pool is backing our runners up, right? Big, 300-point P-bags in the pool. There was 1,000-point in the rewards. There was, you're low on lives, but, fairly common lives in the small enemy pool to help compensate for that.
And even the red jar after the boss kill is very helpful in case they run out of magic to get that fairy cast. Well, that's true on traiLZ's side, not so much on jkoper's side with the magic key. But you're thinking ahead to Thunderbird. If Thunderbird were to be required, going to be emptying out a large amount of magic with the thunder cast. Nice to get it all back with the red jar after the kill.
jkoper, unfortunately, finding out that Barba here is literally one room after that room he took a game over in, but he decides to just fairy past it and not take the chance.
Takes the bop. So that is going to be 3 palaces down for traiLZ. He's going to be headed into 6 as well, it looks like. Still without the reflect spell, though, so it's going to be 6 over to 2, I guess. Over to 2, which is sitting there on the east side of the west. That's right.
Yeah.
jkoper already did that, so we know Helmet Head's not too deep in from the look of it, I guess, as long as you go the right way, I guess.
Fire is spell this seed, to answer a question from chat, which is a little unfortunate.
traiLZ with an immediate left at start here.
Yeah, a bit unusual. Maybe he thinks he's behind? I'm a little curious. I think he's played this seed pretty quickly. He hasn't had almost any major errors that I can think of. But
yeah, I think his second gem was done right around the 15, 16-minute mark, somewhere in there. And so he's been pretty jetty with his gem placement here.
Sadly for him, I think right was, in fact, the way to go from jkoper's perspective. It's always possible there's a loop or something. The room that was right next to Barba had a left and a right side entrance, so it's possible that there could be a route from either direction. I appreciate with how cheap Fairy has become, traiLZ has grown just completely impatient about rooms that have any chance of taking a lava bath and just immediately casting Fairy.
Actually, I think that we've seen this on jkoper's side. This might actually be the correct route here.
Yeah, he just took an alternate way into it. Yeah, this is the room right before Barba, and yeah, again with this cheaper Fairy, the biggest thing, jkoper still at Magic 4 has to spend 60 something points just to be able to get one cast, where traiLZ is 25.
Yeah, jkoper just hitting the Magic 5 mark now, so his Fairy is going to come down in cost big time. For him, he's going to be looking at attack 4 for his gem placement.
traiLZ going with down stabless jump strats. traiLZ still, did he pick up? He did. It looks like he did pick up down stab. He's just not jackhammering. I was gonna say if traiLZ still didn't pick up down stab after literally walking right past it to get here.
Yeah, this is more or less the side jackhammer, I believe is what it's called, where you just get a bunch of hits in from the side with the jump spell. You get a lot of uptime on Barba. Not as much as the true jackhammer from the top with the down stab move, but Yeah, makes quick work of almost said Guma. Makes quick work of Barba there. And has got 4 gems placed.
jkoper is, in fact, going to take this trip over to do 4, which makes sense. He can do 4 and then clear out everything except for 6 in the east, and then just up A and finish up GP.
Yeah, traiLZ is absolutely tearing this one up here. He's going to be doing 2 right now, and then he's going to be right off to GP right after that. And unless we see some sort of block in GP, maybe it's a horrendous GP, maybe there's a double glove locked room with a key door in the middle that he doesn't have a key for at the time, and he's got to go find it. That might be the thing that allows jkoper to catch up. But jkoper has to do 4 and then go back to the east and clear all of the east. Does he remember where 3 is? Does he remember where 1 is? Does he remember where Death Valley is? Those are the things that you're wondering after you've left any continent for any period of time. Do you remember the locations and where they were at, especially in the islands east that it was or that it is, makes it more difficult to navigate and remember exactly what island you were on. What was your longitude and latitude as you reached that point? So we'll see.
Yeah, thankfully, I think Palaces 1 and I'm blanking on the last one that was next to it. It was
3, 1, and 5 out there.
Yeah, 3 and 1 are, I think, pretty much right next to each other in the open. So if he finds one, he should be able to find the other one fairly shortly, and then he could just forget Valley of Death. But he started off about a palace behind, and maybe a palace and a half, and it looks like he's going to still be about there, but anything can happen. GP can be absolutely ridiculous in these max rando seeds. And I know jkoper increasingly a fan of gambling on lefts when he thinks that he's behind in GP.
Yeah, that could be the play. We don't have a full GP or a long GP, as we sometimes refer to it as. It still is just a shortened GP here in this flag set. But that doesn't mean it has to be too short. It still could be, 40-something rooms, I believe, somewhere in that range. So that's a lot of rooms for GP, especially if it ends up being kind of linear. So, fingers crossed.
But yeah, traiLZ just absolutely obliterating these palaces. Going to get attack 5, 5, 6, 7. Going to be very comfortable for him. Immediately saving out. And like we said earlier, just a quick Parappa cave over, and he's going to be in GP.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a sub 37 entry at this point. 36 and a half-ish. This is probably pretty close to that.
For a 5-gemmer, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty smooth.
And he's got almost all of the things that could potentially block him, as we have gates up at 36, 33.
A nice hot pink Great Palace here.
It's absolutely blinding.
Nice on going to be great for the Thunderbird fight if required.
I'm more of a fan of hot pink than I am of the dark red for Thunderbird.
Yeah, it also depends on the background brick pattern as well. So if you've got, sometimes you get just a straight black background, which is of course really nice when you need to see the fire on Thunderbird. But this brick pattern might interfere. I don't know, but you're right. The dark red, anything that's similarly colored to the fireballs themselves can be a disaster.
Oh, very careful here, traiLZ with vertical bubbles of death. Ooh. And traiLZ does manage to get out with a cast of fairy, but oh man, even at life 7, vertical bubbles just hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a solid 1 heart container per bop. I don't think you can bring it down below that. You might be able to get it to 14 health out of the 16 of the bar or something, but they still hurt so bad. Those vertical dots, for whatever reason, hurt so much more than the horizontal ones.
Yeah, and it feels like even beyond how much they hurt, when you get up to life 7, life 8, it feels like the horizontal ones do almost nothing, and the vertical ones still just absolutely truck.
Same kind of similar to the Bago Bagos and their fire. If you body the Bago Bago head as it's flying by, that's another heart container worth of damage. But if you get hit by their fire, it's just a sliver of damage. So you want to get hit by the fire as opposed to getting hit by them themselves.
Of course, either outcome is likely to put you into a pit of lava anyway.
Yes.
They seem to only spawn in rooms that contain death. And wave goodbye to the River Devil, once again being completely useless. And yeah, jkoper, it looks like he remembers right where these palaces are. Oh, or not? I was pretty sure they were just up in the northeast here, but...
You spoke too soon, Elendar, and it's cursed at this point.
Oh, traiLZ has found Thunderbird. He's thinking about it. He's gonna take the death and go for it.
Yeah, he's got just this last life here, so I don't remember how much thunder was to cast. I don't know if he's going to bring up the menu again here. He did just get it ready, but
I caught it was 70.
Okay, so 70 out of 96. That leaves him plenty to cast Shield at this point if he wants it.
Yeah,
and a life spell if he wants that.
And then once he gets the clear, he will get another red jar. It looks like he's just going with Shield.
Yeah, attack 5. This should not pose any real problems here.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure traiLZ does prefer Shield to Reflect, but unfortunately, traiLZ does not have the Reflect spell. But just putting on a clinic, getting ridiculous 4 stabs by weaving those down stabs in. I am absolutely terrible at that technique, but traiLZ making it look easy.
I can get it in every once in a while, but man, is it sloppy.
Absolute clinic. Perfect fight from traiLZ. jkoper, making quick work of these palaces. He's going to be done with 3 in just a second here.
Yeah, the longer he takes, though, not to be Mr. Obvious here, but or Captain Obvious, but the longer he takes, the longer he gives traiLZ time to map every, potential wrong direction out. And then probably going to be finding that right direction and not too distant future here. Yeah,
Thunderbird may or may not be required in these flags, so traiLZ doesn't know necessarily that this is the right way forward, but once you've already killed Thunderbird, you might as well just assume that it is required and clear out everything you can until you've proven otherwise.
Yeah.
Oof, pretty nasty Bluebird Knight here. traiLZ taking it slow, letting him jump over.
Another branch. We're not done yet, folks.
I think my favorite thing about these seeds where Thunderbird is potentially not required is when you kill Thunderbird, you go through a bunch of stuff and you hit a branch and you're back at start.
This is going to be a loop right here, unless this is just a duplicate room next to a duplicate downstab, upstab room. That's going to be a loop after Thunderbird, not required.
Thunderbird, not required.
Well, I haven't been paying super close attention to the routing here in GP. There's got to be a left somewhere that he still has available to him, potentially.
Yeah, I think there was one relatively early.
Yeah, there was. It was up and left into a fun room, I believe. So,
yeah,
I don't know if there were any more than that, though.
Yeah, I remember that room existing. I don't quite remember where it is, but it's probably traiLZ just gonna hit the first left that he can, and
well, this is jkoper into P1, and once he finds Horsehead, the sooner the better, and then he can get into GP. He's going to be, at this point, he is about 6 minutes behind. traiLZ entered into GP about 6 minutes ago, so that's a lot of time to let someone discover and explore GP. So we'll see what happens here. traiLZ is in a very strong position, though.
Yeah, and the thing that's sort of spelling the end for jkoper here is that not only has traiLZ got a significant exploration advantage at this point, but now that he's starting to clear these early lefts, even if jkoper jumps in and decides I'm behind, I'm gambling, I'm going left, well, traiLZ is starting to get that sealed off too. Although this, I think he'd already seen this elevator room, so.
Yeah, we've seen this place 3 times now at this point, so he knows. Well, it could have been the route that he took back to this room just to get into this left, so that's entirely possible. But I think this is the opening at this point, and wherever this goes, I think this is going to lead us to Dark Link.
Yeah, I think there's still that up elevator fun room left. I don't think we've seen the path there, so that's still a possibility, but Trails, respecting the vertical bubble, is going to do a cast of shield and life. And taking some hits to make his decision warranted.
2 back-to-back rooms with the same generator enemy set here.
Yeah, that's unusual and annoying too, because it's not a fun room. Got lava waffles. Thankfully, not too bad of an enemy set so far. You know, life 7, shield and life available, but that lava does not care. It only cares about the fairly restricted 2 lives Trails is running with.
Oh no!
Oh, that's a dead end.
Wow, so he is so far full cleared this GP in several different directions. This is, I don't know, jkoper's placing his 5th gem there. He needs to get into GP. It might be too late, though, because there can't be that many different paths left that Trails has not checked.
Yeah, I think the only one we know about so far is that up elevator into the left turn.
Yeah, unless you know, it's entirely possible that maybe he's lost. You know, it happens when you're like, what didn't I check? You know, what did I miss? And then you have to start back over from the beginning and kind of remap out the palace in the early rooms and be like, oh, I missed this elevator or something like that. So maybe that's where Trails is at. We don't know, but jkoper could come in here, about to walk in here approximately just 9 minutes behind Trails. So I don't know, to say you got to take the right path and you'll win. That's a tall order, but not impossible. So I don't know. Here we go.
I think we'll see fairly early how jkoper feels he's doing in this seed when he hits that first left, whether he decides to go for it or go right.
They both have the same amount of levels, and that is not a game over yet for Trails. So
yeah, that's another factor for Trails still. Like, it absolutely take a game over to, you know, just one trip into the lava and jkoper could be right ahead of him.
Yeah, that's right. We have not seen left at this room either yet.
What a annoying GP.
Into an elevator room. Could be Dark Link at the top. Nope.
That's a different left. So we got 3 left still in the tank. Trails decides this is the one he wants. At a certain point, the lefts have to start leading back into each other.
Oh, it's the pass-through drop room. Interesting. We've seen some drop destination rooms at this point, the L7s, which could haunt him and say, nah, this drop's probably going to lead to those L7s, although it could be very trolly to where the drop is actually the answer.
Yeah, well, here's another drop exit room. It'd be funny if it's just led to the room next to it. We did see those 2 repeating drop exits before, so jkoper fairly quickly doing standard routing. He's going to find Thunderbird. Unfortunately for him, this is going to just waste his time, but doesn't have to take the death, though. Does have enough, just barely, to cast Thunder and get out of here.
Yeah, if he wanted to be hot on Trails' heels, he needed to take a left in that one room that led him to Thunderbird here. Unfortunately, he's probably just going to get sucked down to the right in the standard routing.
Yeah, and I don't dislike the play, but Trails, having almost completely exhausted P1, has in fact found Dark Link.
Yeah, there was only that one last up and left wherever that led, probably a dead end or a loop into itself at some point. Pretty beefy GP, though, in terms of room count and having to figure out what was still available as you exhausted the routes.
I think the way the seed went, if you took every single left, that's what ended up here.
Yeah, yes, I believe. Oh, well.
If you took I think all left, no elevators, is what put him here. I might be wrong as far as choices go.
You did have to take the elevator through the four-way up into the what we call the item room in GP.
But I think the first left looped into that four-way as well.
Oh, I guess it's entirely possible.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be the most efficient route, but anyway, traiLZ successfully holds down and presses the B button and has cleared this with official race time 48 minutes and 5 seconds.
Pretty good time for a 5-gemmer, for sure. They did start with a lot of items, though. They didn't have to get Fairy or Thunder or the glove or the boots, which all were very helpful. The hammer required to get through the caldera, they started with that as well. So they were really prepared to just get in there, start digging, and go. Just get those levels, get Fairy castable, and get to it. jkoper going to be forfeiting here with the DNF. No reason to keep continuing on at this point, knowing there's no points for second place there. He's just going to jump in. traiLZ joining us, and now jkoper going to be joining us in a moment. traiLZ, GG.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you. Hold on one second.
jkoper also in the waiting room. I'm pretty sure I can drag them in, but I don't know exactly what that means.
Can you hear? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. jkoper also joining us.
Sorry, I just got one. Well, I've had a Blue Yeti mic for a long time, and my microphone on my Logitech headset broke, so I started using this one now. And I hadn't hooked it up to Discord yet. So what's up, dude?
Well, y'all both started with some an arsenal of items to get you into palaces right off the bat. Just needed some magic levels and get that Fairy castable, and it was pretty much go time from there.
All I wanted was that I either wanted the raft or the reflect spell. And even after I got the raft, I was like, do I want would I rather do Palace 4 than the other one? That's kind of what was going on in my head.
Yeah, I assume you didn't do 5?
I did do 5.
You did do 5. Oh, okay.
I did 5, 6. I did everything before.
Oh, okay. So
and
you didn't
5 was long as hell. Nah, I didn't. Was it in Old Kasuto? I never found Old Kasuto. I figured it was underneath the Three-Eyed Rock.
No, it was just hanging out in the southwest, I think.
Did it have reflect?
Yeah, of course.
Dang.
I got all the spells.
Dang.
Yeah. I don't know. That wasn't a challenge, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty free seed, if you ask me. I took I gambled left in P6. P5 was a really long path, and then finally you got to Guma, and I had to do it at attack 4 with no downstab, but the life spell was really nice this seed. GP was a nightmare. I did probably about 80% of it.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
But then I don't regret forfeiting because I just died to Thunderbird and then I quit.
Thunderbird wasn't required, and the funny thing is,
I didn't know that he was. I was just figured, this is probably something traiLZ would have avoided, so I figured I would just do it.
No, I did it. No, I did it, and I went behind Thunderbird, and it was a long path into a loop, and
okay.
It was a little bit tricky. You had to see when you take all the other paths. There's one path that you go through. You know those double-ended drop rooms? They have the flying enemies in it. They usually have the flying rowheads and fireballs. You drop into them. There was several of them in a row. And then I finally hit a dead end. So I was and then the dead end was the top of the L7 drop. So when I narrowed it down to only 2 paths left, I skipped an elevator going left. There was a drop, and I skipped that drop, and then it was a couple rooms after that was an elevator to Dark Link. But man, that was it wasn't a terrible GP. It was just if you made that left and you skipped that drop, you were going to find Dark Link pretty free. Other than that, you were going down the rabbit hole, which kind of sucked.
Yeah, what was jkoper when you went up and right into Thunderbird's room? It would have been, if you would have gone left in that room that led you to Thunderbird. If you would have gone left there, you would have been right behind traiLZ, and that was that at that point was the correct path. traiLZ had explored everything to the right and exhausted everything to the right, even behind Thunderbird, and then even found another left that was several rooms deep, and that led to the top of an L7 drop room. So. Yeah, there were a lot of drop destination rooms in here, so I don't blame you, traiLZ, for skipping that drop. That was it would have been a super troll GP if that drop was indeed required, because there were so many drop rooms that you could have just fallen into. It would have been a nightmare to have to dig back through that.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, man, if that goes into a one-way right Dark Link right there drop, I'm gonna be pissed. But I did pass like 3 or 4 of those drop rooms, and then I hit that dead end at the L7 drop. So I was like, chances are that's gonna drop there. It was a pretty free seed, and the GP was kind of annoying. I think I entered it around the 35-minute mark or something like that.
It was about 36 and a half minutes in. You walked in there, and then jkoper walked in about 9 minutes later at 45:20 something.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time exploring the overworld, getting all the spells and getting the items, and the magic key was 7 magic containers in New Kasuto, and then I got that.
Wow.
I got that before I did any palaces at all, and then after that it was very straightforward, I guess.
Man, I went straight for magic 5 or 6, and once you got that, fairy was like 25 or something like that. So
yeah, it was cheap in the end, whatever I finished at. It was expensive to start, though, that's for sure. It was 6 to 7 until at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, but you found 2 magic containers pretty immediately. They were on the west. I think the grass tile and the what was that? The pea bag cave. I think they each had a magic container. And then when you went over to the east, it was kind of just like, do the palaces, and then I looked onto I think it was the water tile that's kind of funny that I think about it now. The water tile had the raft on it, like it washed on shore. But yeah, like the water tile had the raft, and then I still wanted to get reflect spell. But in terms of routing, it would have been bad for routing, because you would have had to pass GP in order to get to Palace 4. Palace 6 wasn't that bad. I took the left gamble at the beginning, and it was probably about 6 or 7 rooms, but eventually you ran into Barba.
Yeah, I did everything except for 5.
Oh, okay, you skipped 5.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to make sense to me, skipping the one that's in Valley of Death.
Well, now at that point, Fairy was already 26, and I had like 7 or 6 magic containers. So, and there was only 1 VOD encounter.
Oh, was there really?
Yeah, once you got through that cave, you were in that square that you could just walk straight to the palace.
Yeah.
But P5 kind of sucked, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I probably 15 or so rooms. Like, I almost up an aid, and then I remember there was a left-hand turn way back when, so I backtracked all the way back, and then I went around another elevator, went through like another 5 rooms, and finally Guma. I almost picked up the item, and then I skipped it. I was in the item room, and I was like, you know what, I don't need this. And I walked towards Guma, and Guma was like the next room or 2 rooms over.
Yeah, I feel like just about every palace had a left turn in it.
Yeah, P1 started off to the left.
Right.
I went full right in P1 and was like, oh man, straight up left. But when I was in P5, I started right, and it just went on this windy rabbit hole. And then eventually I ran into Guma. It was thinking about it now, like probably just taking the Maze Island Bridge back to the east or to the west on the west side, and just doing P4 would have probably been a much better decision. Yeah, because especially if Old Kasuto was in the southwest, That's right next to the Maze Island bridge that took you to the west. How bad was 4?
It wasn't too bad. I don't know, medium length.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a pretty nice. I think I found one item, and I think that was in P3, and it was a red jar or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember finding an item in a palace. I found the item room in 1, and I was like, no, I don't really need to do this. I had 7 hearts and 7 containers, so.
Wow, I didn't find any hearts. I found a couple containers, but I don't know. GP didn't seem to be that bad. I mean, it was just trolly because, like, all of the right-hand turns either led to a loop, or Thunderbird led to a loop as well. The first elevator underneath Thunderbird, the room that Eon made, with the breakable blocks inside of the elevator, the one to the exit to the right actually led you to the very beginning of the palace. It was just 2 rooms over, so it was actually a shortcut and safer to go left at start from that point. I think you skipped a room or 2, and all you had to do was one of those lava bridges with the flying enemies, and deal with the spicy chicken in that room. But if you went left in that room, it was a bunch of those double-ended drop rooms followed by the L7, the top of the L7. If you went to the top of the elevator and went right, it was Thunderbird, and then it was a long path into one of those downstab required rooms into a loop, one of those elevator rooms, the upside-down T with small enemies in it. And so, like, the only path you could go was up and then left. And you go left a couple rooms, there's an elevator up that led to a fun room that I skipped. And I just held left, and I saw the drop room, so I skipped that. And Dark Link was a few rooms after. But that GP definitely gave me a run for the money.
Yeah, that confirms Elendar was saying that we had 3 lefts remaining when you were on that final left path.
We had one left remaining.
Well, you had the up and left at the fun room, and then you hit a branch as well.
No, that was the fun room.
Oh, okay, so that's the final fun room. Okay, so there were just the 2 lefts there that you had that final branch before you chose the bottom floor and kept heading left at that point.
Well, no, I just stayed left on the bottom floor. I poked my head up just to see if it was Dark Link, but it was it was either a fun room or it was one of those reverse downstab block rooms. But with the random blocks that are, placed in the middle of the room. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The random breakable blocks. So I skipped that one, and I held left, and when I saw the drop, I was like, well, that's going to take me to one of the 5 drops that I don't want to go to, so I'm just going to continue left. And I guarantee you, because there were so many drops, that top path probably took you to a drop room as well. And even after skipping that drop, there was even another double-sided drop room after it, which I found kind of funny. Like, damn, there was like 5 or 6 different drop rooms in this palace.
Real fast here before we get kicked off, because we do have this back-to-back doubleheader going on here. I just want to say that I think what hurt you, jkoper, is that the early game is that when you did all that exploration, traiLZ was digging into Palace 1 and Palace 3 there in the east before you ultimately decided to then up an A and start back at 2 and then hit up Maze Island and go to 6. And I think just traiLZ, I mean, if you watch it back, it just ended up being it was just the perfect routing to do 3 and 1, and then of course gamble on 5. 5 was a little rough, but then having to go back up an A, do Maze Island to 6, hit 2, and then jump into the Caldera and do GP. We were hoping you were going to jump into 1 and 3 there on the west before heading back, but I think the trip going back to the west and then getting the downstab technique, finishing the 2 palaces over there, doing 4, and then having to also hit up the east for those final 2 palaces. I think all that double backing to the east again, I think that's ultimately what cost a lot of time, and that's probably what led to traiLZ having such a large lead getting into GP there.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no desire to go into 3 without downstab, so yeah, maybe some people have fun with that, but it's not my idea of fun. I would need high levels to do that. So I don't know. The number one thing that I would regret routing wise that Trails mentioned is to go to 4, to take the bridge back to go to 4 instead of going back through the thing. But
yeah, because that probably costs at least 3 minutes going through. Going through Parappa probably only costs about 20 seconds, but then that jump cave is 3 screens.
Well, never mind. I don't know about that in the end. Now that I think about that again, because so I did 2 and then 5, and then I did 4, and then the palaces in the east. So yeah, no, it all worked out fine, I suppose. If I wanted to have downstab for 3, then it was going to have to be something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's anything that I could have done too much different to still have downstab for 3. So, yeah. Had a little trouble refining the palaces too. I knew there was somewhere in the northeast, but it was kind of hidden behind the towns there.
Yeah, it's weird when it's like when it's islands like that. It's so easy to like completely get lost. You know, you remember it's right here, and then you go back to where you think it was, and it's like nothing's there, and that happens to me a lot in islands.
Yeah, you really have no bearing on where you enter, and if you have to walk around a little bit to find stuff, you don't exactly know how far you've walked from the entry point of that continent. And if you have to come back through that way, you're like, do I remember whether it was far east or was it southeast, or exactly how deep was it down on the map? And it's just, islands can be an absolute nightmare.
Agreed. Well, hey man, thank you so much for the race, jkoper, GGs, and thank you ZeldaSpeedRuns, man, for hosting the tournament. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pop off here, but thanks again for everything. Catch you guys later.
Yeah, thanks guys. Good one, everyone.
All right. So, make sure to give our runners a follow. Thank you to Elendar and Mariah for doing the commentary, and to Cheeseburger Party for tracking. We have another race kind of right after this between MS United and Dr. J PhD. That'll be probably about 15 minutes from now or so. We will be right back.